I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today, our treasurer will not be able to make it, so we will have board member Lane Sequin will be our secretary recording everything. So I will ask board member Sequin to please call the roll.
Oh, okay. She does the alphabetical. Ms. Karstafen?
Here.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Here.
Mr. Hauser?
Here. Mr.
Ellick?
Here.
And myself, Ms. Sequin.
Okay,
Here.
and now that everybody's here, would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome to a very special February 1, 2023 board meeting. We are very excited for some very special recognition today, and I will turn it over to our superintendent down in the end, Ann Slosh. Ann?
Thank you, Mr. Ellick. And you never want to celebrate anything that goes wrong, but I will say that we are very, very fortunate that George is with us tonight. George, if you would stand, I'd like everyone to recognize this is George, one of our referees for basketball in the district. And I don't know if all of you have kept up on the social media and the newspaper, but there was an incident at one of our boys' basketball games, and we're going to be calling a few people up because how it was handled saved George's life, I would say, wouldn't you? Yeah. So first of all, I do want to say that as a superintendent, you know, often we go through all the trainings and we put, you know, everyone through professional development days, and it's instances like this that remind us of how important all of that training is. Day in and day out. And I can't say enough about the group of staff members and people in the audience that stepped up on at our basketball game against Avon Lake a couple of weeks ago. And I would like to introduce them to come up and get an award. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Chief Prenesti. I forgot about you, Chief. You know, you're unforgettable, but if you'd come up, please, and help, I will call the names off for you, Chief, and if you'd like to say a few words first. Sure. Actually, there's a microphone right over there.
Yeah, I think you can hear me.
It's for the TV.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Can't get off that
All
easy.
right, how about now?
Yeah.
Hear me?
Perfect.
Okay. You know, everybody just kind of takes for granted when you go to a public event or you're out shopping or whatever that you're going to do your thing and you're going to go home. And we try to get out in the community as much as possible, the need for everybody to learn CPR and to know where the AEDs are. You know, you learn so much now, oh, be aware of your surroundings, be aware. Well, everybody should kind of know where the AEDs are. They're a blessing, automated external defibrillators. And that night that George went down, there is no doubt in my mind that if he had been anywhere else, he would have perished. And we see it day in and day out in the city. I was just putting together an annual report for my bosses at City Hall, and we respond at a fire department for 3,800 EMS calls a year, of which about 125 are what we call a full arrest, which means no heartbeat, no breathing, and a lot of times when we arrive, most of the time, the outcome is not good. And it takes a toll on my firemen, takes a toll on everybody. But this was so cool and so uplifting. And we were just coming off what took place in Buffalo. And it's just kind of weird how, you know, Monday night, I'm watching with my wife, we're like, holy cow. And you hear about how that trainer saved that football player's life. Well, Where's Laura? Get up here. So, again, you know, Laura's not used to these things, but you know what? She reacted. She did a wonderful job, and she saved George's life. Now, there was another nurse there who I don't believe is with us.
Oh, she is.
Oh, where's she at? Megan? Megan, get up here. Megan Edwards. Why do I feel like a game show host? Or Phil Donahue? Is the caller there? All right. Megan, this is cool. What I loved about this was when I talked to her, she said she was in the stands just watching the game for her son, and she saw somebody grab the AED and go. Because George did not go down on the court. He went down in a hallway. And she knew something was up, and she sprang into action. And again, I want to say thank you. And my wife and my daughter are both RNs, and they, you know, it means you have a special place. And so I want to thank you. And then I'm going to, last but not least, you know, there were several people there, and Laura was quick to praise. At our city council meeting on February 6th, I'm going to present them, or have the mayor present them with a proclamation. And then also, there was two brother police officers there from Elyria Police, Joe Figula and Sergeant Rick Buckway. I'm ordering you to get up here. And because their boss is here and he can't argue with me, I'm putting them in, and I don't exactly know the exact title of this, but Elyria Police give out Meritus Awards. And I'm going to write a beautiful letter to their chief, which I already have, I just haven't sent it to them, to put them in for their life-saving merit award, which they're so deserving of. So get on it, okay? George. Now, I didn't realize this. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but the other official that was with him, come on up. I'm Bob? Tim. Tim. Come on up. Tim, what's your last name again?
Bradley.
Bradley. Tim was the other official with George. And a year ago, right, about a year ago, he was refereeing a game at John Carroll, went into full arrest, and was saved by the trainer at John Carroll. It's crazy. So, that's all I'm going to say on behalf of the fire department again. They did the hard work until my firemen got there to start giving you the medications and to stabilize you. These are what heroes are all about, and I'm thankful for them. I am so glad that these two protect the city, but my own family. It's people like them and people like Laura and Megan that make the good out of all the bad that we watch on TV every night. So, again, let's give them a standing ovation.
Chief, if you don't mind, I'd like to call up a few others that helped that night that we'd like to recognize as well.
Laura, come on across.
From,
Come on, all the way. You're first, right?
Right.
First on the list?
first,
Oh, you gotta
first.
start all the way down?
Yes, start all the way down.
That's awesome.
So we have Laura Breeze, as you saw, Megan Edwards. The board would like to recognize you. Heather Beck, who is our athletic director and was running around with names and everything else trying to help out. John Wallace, one of our teachers that also was a game worker. Officers Buckway and Figula. Thanks, that's okay. Brett Larrick and Mike Walsh. Austin Pinkston and Keenan Williams. John Cooper and Dan Gunder. These are all the coaches that sprung into action that night.
job, young fella.
We have Matt Sawerka, the middle school athletic director. Principal Kim Bonetto from the high school. Katie Kalamaz, principal from the high school. And we'd also like to recognize Brent Schremp, the AD from, the athletic director from Avon Lake. So these were all the individuals that were involved that night in helping out.
How about George
So-
coming up here?
And George, yes, come back up, George. You have to be in the big picture, right? Here you go.
Hey, my friend.
Thank you.
It's great to see.
If you wouldn't have gone down, we probably would have won that game.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Kim.
All right. Greg, you name it.
Oh, I was going to. Okay. Great. Thank you, Chief. Thanks, everybody. We truly appreciate the difference makers, and to make your life a little better, we'll let you be excused at anyone that wants to leave before we start business. Now's the time to get going. So thank you again. We appreciate it. Okay.
There's Howard.
Well, that was a very exciting acknowledgement there and presentation, but unfortunately we have to move on to a boring business, but never boring as our speakers, and we do have a couple of people that are signed up this evening.
Howard is trying to get your attention.
And we actually have our counsel here. Would you like to speak, Mr. Lane? Okay. 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 Thanks, Howard. Hope everything works out okay. Okay, first up, Mr. Parker. It's hard thing to follow right there, you know, saving lives, so.
I'm not gonna even try that. My wife is a nurse, so I let them do their stuff. I have nothing prepared. Normally I have a big old sheet, but Brett Parker, 134 Buckingham, and I'm just, last year, we had the whole boundary changed in April, and open enrollment starts on February 1st. So I am coming today to find out, since today is February 1st, is there anything in the works for the city of Elyria and boundary changes that will affect kids that possibly would want to submit open enrollment paperwork? I don't want to get caught off guard in April again.
Sure.
And I don't think it's fair to anyone to get caught off guard. So I figured I'd bring it to you guys, being at February 1st, and ask you guys.
Okay, absolutely. Superintendent, did you?
Yes, we have a meeting next week to look at that and look at numbers. We've asked for updated numbers. As of right now, the numbers look relatively stable, but unfortunately with our transiency, sometimes that changes, but as it looks right now, we look pretty good. But that is a meeting we are having next week.
So my concern is, there again, we start February 1st for open enrollment being policy, being first come, first serve. If that is made in a week and those kids are affected, they're a week, 2 weeks, a month behind, just like we were last year. And that's where I don't think it was fair last year, and I don't think it'll be fair this year if it happens to another kid. It's just being told a month after open enrollment opens that, hey, you're moving, you can submit open enrollment, but you're behind a whole month. That's not putting people on level field. That's just wrong.
We were in a different situation last year because the buildings were just being completed. So, and we did tell everyone early that there were going to be shifts. We just didn't announce exactly what they were until then. But what I will tell you is, in looking at their enrollment we looked at today, it looks pretty stable. But we check it every single Wednesday. And there are days we get 30 kids in and 30 kids out. So that's where we have to be a little flexible. But as of right now, we look pretty solid.
Yeah, like I said, I just, knowing, having it happen to
Sure.
our neighborhood, none of our kids were accepted. That open enrolled, none of them were accepted. So I don't want, knowing that, knowing the feeling, I want to make sure it doesn't happen to others. I understand it's flexible, I understand it goes up and down, but this date and these dates for these things, and being told after it starts just isn't right.
Okay.
So that's I think I caution the board.
When you
Okay.
say it's stable, Ann, what exactly?
The class sizes look about where they were when we made the changes last year.
Not many fluctuations.
But understand there's a lot of building going on out on the west side, which could shift if each home has children. And that is not something we can control necessarily. But we do everything possible, and we've made arrangements to do that. And we try to do the best. We know moving schools is not easy for anyone.
Sure.
And that's something we take into account.
And the board could look into that policy where it says it starts on February 1st and it's first come, first served, to allow, or if someone finds out in April, to allow for them to be placed as if they put it on the first day available. And give them this is when you found out, this is the first day you knew to apply. We're gonna treat it as if you applied on February 1st.
No,
To kind of give those.
That's
fairness.
reasonable. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
reasonable.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that is something that we should look into here.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. Okay, next up is Dawn. Dawn, if you would mind. I never can say your name right, so we'll leave it at that. And we know your address, so it's your 5 minutes.
I just wanted to talk about something that was talked about last time with your guest with cultural humility. I get very angry when people talk like that, when people talk about seeing somebody's skin color over all else, because I don't believe that way, and I don't think children see that way. Adults see that way, and I don't think that we should do anything to push children into seeing those differences in people. We should just, content of character. If you do things that you say you're going to do, if you're honest, if you're hardworking, those are the things that we should focus on. So I think that's part of the problem when we try to say, oh, it's because your skin color, it's because your gender, it's because you're this or that. So when he was talking about those things, it was very aggravating to me. Also the equality and the equity thing, because we're not equal. We should have the same equal opportunity at things, the same equal opportunity at a job, or maybe on a sports team, or for whatever dance competition, a band competition. We should have the same opportunity at them, but we are not all equal. Some of us will work harder. Some of us will hours and hours and hours of practice, while others of us will just do the bare minimum to get by. So we are not equal, as some of us will always work harder than others. But we should have equal opportunity at whatever opportunity we're trying to succeed at. Also, when he was talking about basically how this generation should teach the old generation, and I just laughed because I was thinking the biggest problem is that we don't learn from the older generation, that we take for granted what our grandmas and grandpas and what our parents have already learned, and think that we know better because we learned something new and shiny in college, when most of the time they're not speaking of, you know, maybe education, book smarts, but they're thinking of experience. You've seen things replicate over and over again. So I think we should focus on our kids academically and not, you know, their skin color or their gender or their race. Obviously, you guys' own data has said that these kids in the last few years with COVID were behind. We've gone down in what they've learned, and we're trying to catch back up. And I think that was the point, to dumb these kids down even further, which also makes me angry. So I think we need to focus less on cultural humility or emotional social learning, which is basically just critical race theory with a different name, or, you know, whatever pronouns or whatever they want to talk about these days, and focus more on reading and writing and math and reading comprehension, because people can't seem to tell you what they just read. You guys talked last year about financial curriculum, that you were going to implement that into these students, and I think that's very important, because financial literacy seems to be lacking these days, responsibility and such. Teach them real life skills that are going to advance them in the world, because the world is not bubble wrapped with cry closets or Play-Doh therapy. That's just not the way it works. And while we shouldn't bombard them with that in school, we should prepare them for what the real world's going to throw at them one day. So maybe in the future we can see this cycle of basically what happens with, what's happening right now with our economics, the downturns and stuff like that, that basically every 10 to 15 years we have an economic recession, depression, and it's just a cycle that just keeps happening and happening and happening, and nobody sees it. Nobody sees that they're basically using the stock market like a casino, and they keep robbing us every 10 to 15 years, and then every 50 to 100 years we have an even bigger cycle. But we don't teach our kids history properly, so they never see any of this. They don't see the patterns. They don't see the downturns and how they seem more planned than sporadic. But if you understand the game, if you understand how it works, and you understand materialism isn't important, that, just working hard and keeping it simple and being responsible is what actually gets you there, then we should be fine. I saw one thing a school did, it was really great. They had a bank come out, they had insurance, they had an auto person come out that does cars, and they kind of gave all the kids like a salary and make a life, and kids saw that, hey, I bought a car that was too expensive or a house that was too expensive, and now I can't eat at the end of the month. This is the type of stuff I think that we should focus on teaching our kids, and then maybe they'll even get along better with their parents, because they'll understand where their parents are coming from and the kind of responsibilities they have every month, just putting everything on the table and then still buying them those Nikes or whatever they want, that game system. So I just wanted to talk about that after last week's meeting, or last couple weeks meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dawn. Okay, that's it for the speakers here, so we'll move along to business. And, good news must travel fast, because I've already got 3 texts about seeing the Elyria schools on the news, so so that's good. And one of them said, who's that guy next to you? No. All right, so moving along here. On the agenda to the minutes. The minutes from the meeting on January 18, 2023 have been posted. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read them. And I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Of a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Recorder for the day, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstoffen?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin? Aye. Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, the treasurer will not be here today, but I believe our superintendent will do the quick treasurer report. Madam Superintendent?
Thank you. First of all, to acknowledge the donations and express appreciation to the Point of Grace Ministries for their donation. Also to the Ethel M. Tyler Charitable Trust. To the anonymous donor that donated $10,000 for pollinator gardens, and Mr. Kokai will be doing a presentation soon about that in the coming board meetings. And to B's Car Stereo for his donation to the communications office. And that concludes my donations.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's donation report?
So moved.
A motion by Board Member Hauser. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstoffen?
Aye.
Ms. Segwin? Aye. Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we do have a few treasurer other items, Madam Superintendent.
Okay, okay, there they are. Sorry, it got cut off. The next is to appoint board members. for the next expulsion appeal hearing.
Okay.
It's on the 15th at 4 p.m.
On the 15th.
Oh, my wife's having surgery.
Okay, do we have any volunteers for the, this one snuck on me. I didn't even remember we had this on the agenda on the 15th. so.
Just making sure.
I can do it.
Okay, we have
I can do it.
Board Member Hauser and Board Member Sequin with Alec Karstoffen and Gebhardt as alternates. Okay, so I guess we'll get a separate motion on that. Do I have a motion to approve the board members for the expulsion hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Sequin. Any comments or questions? With none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin? Aye. Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. And Madam Superintendent, a couple other items for the treasurer this evening there?
Yes, thank you. First of all, to approve the permanent appropriations modifications, so these are changes to those in enclosure H3. Also to approve the transfer of funds from the general fund to the building fund, and this is for the demolition abatement project that actually came in well below what they had estimated, which was very good news, and that concludes my others.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer others given to us by the superintendent?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. And just for the record, the permanent appropriations are the, where fiscal, those are the cash basis ones that are required by the auditor's office, I believe, correct?
Yes, it is.
So there is a little bit difference between ours and what goes to the auditor's office. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Do we have do we have a starting date yet of when they're going to?
I was told today that they're starting in the next week at Windsor.
Oh, okay, great. All right, other questions or comments? If none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt? Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin? Aye. Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, there won't be any treasurer other since she's not here, so move along to the superintendent. Madam Superintendent, your action items this evening.
Thank you. First of all, to approve the certified staff for tutoring. Next, to approve our continued membership in the OHSAA for the 23-24 school year. To approve the purchase of the Glysol that, as you know, we had a leak underground. I've been told this is like the antifreeze for our HVAC system at the high school. I'm learning a lot. And that might be covered by insurance. We are working on that. And that concludes my action items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent action items?
So moved.
Do I have I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hauser. Comments and questions? Any comments or questions?
No.
Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mrs. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin? Aye. Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Madam Superintendent, personnel action items.
Yes, and at the end, I do have an introduction. But
Okay.
first of all, to approve the appointment of the following certified staff, a couple more long-term subs, which is wonderful. Also to approve the athletic supplemental contracts. As you can see, we're adding some assistant coaches. We're really trying to build up our programs and also some spring sports. Also to approve our supplemental contract for our new head volleyball coach at Elyria High. To approve the payment of the following after-school tutoring for certified staff. To approve the appointment of the following classified staff as described below. To approve the resignation of the following classified staff. And that concludes my personnel action items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's personnel action items this evening?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Sequin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any comments or questions? With none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Segwin? Aye. Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser?
Aye.
Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Madam Superintendent, do you have a superintendent's report for us this evening?
I do, and I'd like to start by introducing Heather Beck, our athletic director, so that she can introduce our new head volleyball coach.
All right,
And family.
all right, this is exciting.
I'd like to introduce Paige Pulaski. She is actually a product of our volleyball program from a couple years ago, and is now teaching at Hamilton, right? So we look forward, she's been on the staff, and now she'll be.
All right.
All right, congratulations. And will there be any family members that are going to be coaching along the way, helping you? Okay, I remember that guy over there, so, okay, that sounds good. Good luck. Congratulations.
And we will have some of her staff being introduced in the coming months.
Okay,
So.
great.
So as far as a report, I would like to congratulate, Denise Blatt is not here tonight, but the whole pupil services department and the high school and the athletic department for just, it's one of those moments you just feel good the whole time, the unified basketball program that we saw our kids play along with some of our girls basketball team and some of our boys basketball team were the referees. And it was just such a neat experience all the way across. We played Copley, Cloverleaf, Highland, and Lorraine, and had a great time. And it was very successful. So looking forward to that, taking more games in the coming months. Also, we had a really great blended learning professional development day. We had Jack Berkmeyer and Kim Campbell here. We heard a lot of positives from the staff working on restorative practices and circle time and PBIS, but also it was really neat. I was privy to in a meeting with our state support team yesterday and Mrs. Matthews and Mrs. Blatt, the feedback we got from the state support team at all the wonderful things that are going on around working on the positive behaviors within the district and what an effect they're having. They're very honest with us in areas we need to work on, and we are hearing wonderful feedback from them on the growth they're seeing this year in that area. Also, want to thank Senator Nathan Manning and Representative Gail Manning, and I hope I did that right because they swapped positions, but they were kind enough to come tour our Ely campus and had nothing but great things to say about the new facility, and we were able to have wonderful discussions around lunches and what we're looking to have from the state support, and they're very huge supporters of education and have always been good partners. And also, I wish I had Brett Larrick and the coaches here, but I think our boys basketball is on a 9-game winning streak, which is wonderful, and we're a relatively young team. I think we only have 2 seniors. So we're really looking forward. The program is doing well, and I know that our girls basketball just got their 3 injured players back and immediately won a couple games. So good stuff happening, swimming, everything, and if you can get out to one of those games or events, please do, because it's fun to watch our students compete. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Board of Education, and I'll follow right up with that. I don't know what happened this weekend, but about 6 different people I ran into all asked, what's the timeline on the football coach? So I will ask you, what is the timeline on announcing a football coach?
So we had another round of interviews last night. We are working the process. I have a meeting tomorrow, but it should be, we're hoping to make the announcement, fingers crossed, either at we're hoping the February 15th meeting.
Okay.
So you should hear something
So we're getting
relatively
close.
soon.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Board of Education, other items, anything, board members, for the good of the cause, questions, comments, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, the next meeting, could these be a little bit bigger? They're a little
There is
smaller.
a problem with board docs.
Okay,
We tried all day to try to get it bigger. They have acknowledged the issue and they can't figure out what went wrong. but we thought we'd challenge you tonight, Mr. Gebhardt.
Okay.
You
I can read it,
succeeded,
but,
so you're good.
Makes it a little hard.
I changed classes myself.
Okay.
Also, I just want to say something about the basketball team. They really seem to have gelled
Yeah.
this last, well, 9 games. But when they play Ridgeville, this will be a big game this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Great. Any other comments or questions? For the good of the cause, anyone? Okay, with none, we'll move along to board policies and regulations. We have 3 policies that we had our first reading last meeting, so I'll ask for an approval of the second reading and adoption of the following 3 policies. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any comments or questions? With none, Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll again?
Mr. Gebhardt.
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen.
Aye.
Mr. Hauser.
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin. Oh, aye. I'm thinking, why is there silence? And Mr. Elick.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, and last on the agenda, I would like a motion to request an executive session for the purpose of considering the employment, appointment, or compensation of a public employee or official as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hauser. Madam Recorder, would you please
All
call
right,
the
Ms.
roll into
Karstaffen.
executive session?
Aye.
Mr. Hauser.
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt.
Aye.
Mrs. Segwin, aye.
That's you.
Yeah, oh, Mr. Elick.
Aye. Motion carries into executive session, and that was with
Pressure.
no business to follow.